Hello, my name is Enfiende and I'm here to teach you how to become a better Insurgency player. In this second episode of my Bootcamp series, I will talk about loadouts. Basically what armor to use, if any at all, what ammunition, which attachments are useful, and obviously what guns you want to use, or what guns that I prefer to use and would recommend for you. A quick note before we start is, as my other videos, this focuses on the competitive modes, which is 5 vs 5 firefight, both in public, in pugs, scrims and matches. So it's either going to be the public game mode, which is very restricted when it comes to guns, or it's going to be the Yale Theater or the Yale Theater, which have a bit more choices. Right now, as you can see, I'm on the Synergy DGL match server. Thanks guys, by the way, for letting me use it, which obviously features the Yale Theater. So I'm gonna go with that one, but most of this applies to the ESL Theater as well, if you're gonna play on that. I'm not gonna dwell anymore on this, so let's get right into it. So we're gonna start out in the bottom here with vests. You have the chest rig and the chest carrier to choose from. The rig costs 1 and the chest carrier costs 2. With the chest rig you can carry 1 extra grenade, and with the chest carrier you can carry 2 extra grenades. In the Yale Theater, the chest rigs cost weights nothing, and the chest carriers weights quite a bit actually, and then when you add on top of that an extra explosive and 1 more and 1 up here, you get quite a lot of extra weight on you, and you're gonna run much slower. So you gotta think about that as well. That's fine for some players and for some positions, but sometimes you want to be a bit more lighter, and then the chest carry is not the right choice, but a chest rig will still let you be pretty light if you run, for example, something like this. You see, not very much. That's about it with those two, not very much to go on there. Armor. I think a lot of you watching this video already knows that heavy armor does not actually negate that much damage, and not enough really for you to not be killed by a gun with AP ammo. Heavy armor is, however, very useful on the pistol rounds that you will play in pugs, scrims and matches if you start playing competitively. But otherwise, in real gun rounds, heavy armor is totally useless, I would say. It can block off some grenade damage, I guess, but it costs 2 points, it's going to weight you down a ton, and there's basically, I never ever used it in any of my matches except on the pistol round, where it is very good. So the light armor, even more useless. On the pistol round it's not even good there, so either heavy armor or no armor in the pistol round, and in the gun rounds never ever armor. The explosives, not much to say around here, like all of them are good. The frag is very good, the smoke is very good, flash is a bit more situational, and the AN-M14 and Molotov on the Insurgency side is even more situational, I would say. I always want a frag over the AN, but you can find your uses for it. Flash, why I say that one is a bit situational is because, like, I mean, it's good, but smokes, with the coordinated team, you can barrage down smokes all over the map, and you can block off certain key areas, and you can get into points a lot easier. The flash can easily be, people can turn around from flash, people could be behind a corner where they don't get flashed. It's just a bit more situational, a bit less reliable than a smoke. So, yeah, not much to say about those. Lastly, before we go into the primaries, we have the pistols, which is pretty easy because the Makarov is by far the best pistol now since the patch where it got updated. With the extended mag and the suppressor on a pistol round, it is very, very good. You can even use heavy armor then, and you have a very strong pistol round loadout. For a sniper, the Makarov with APM on the suppressor is what I like to use and what I think is the best. If you absolutely, for some reason, don't want to use the Makarov, even though it has the best recoil and the tied most damage with the M9, I think it has more damage than the M45. I know you're going to be like, wait, that's not true, but I actually think that's true. I'll link a damage calculator down below. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. So yeah, Makarov, just better than the others. M9 comes second, and M45 is the worst by far. So that's all on the other equipment, and lastly I'm gonna go over primaries. So I'm gonna start on the security side, and I'll show you the insurgency side later in part 2. We'll jump right into, you can see the 5 classes right here. This is the Yale Theater. They have a flanker, an assault, and a sharpshooter. On the ESL, I think it's leader, flanker, assault, and support. The support is kind of the same as the Sharpshooter. They have a sniper available. That's the big thing about them. The leader and the flanker has a few differences in DSL, but they're pretty minor. So the guns will be the same in both theaters. They will do the same kind of damage. Some of them are a bit lighter in the DGL theater, but there's not a big difference, not much you have to think about. So let's get right into the flanker. He has these weapons to choose from: the shotgun, the M16, the UMP, the M4, and the MP5K. The shotgun is totally useless. We're not even going to talk about that one. The M16, however, is not useless. It's a staple gun for a lot of assault players. But this is not an assault player. This is a flanker player. So he preferably wants to use the UMP and the MP5 because they are lighter and they have a faster ADS time. So this guy can run and gun a lot. He can come around the corner, sees an enemy, he can pull up his gun really fast and aim and shoot him very fast as well, of course. Especially the MP5K, which has a very high fire rate of 900 RPM, I think. But I'm gonna start with the M16 anyway. You want it with AP ammo, because this gun has a lot of penetration power and you want to utilize that by having AP ammo to further improve that, so you can shoot through walls and shoot through wood objects and still deal tons of damage. The good thing with this weapon, because you want to play it a single fire all the time, by the way. Burst fire does not exist, okay? Forget about burst fire. When you burst, you'll have to wait until you burst another time, and in between those two bursts you can get killed. With single fire you can get a more consistent fire rate, basically. It's super accurate on the single fire mode, which makes it so that you don't need to use the foregrip, if you ask me. If you practice without the foregrip, you will not have to use it, because the gun is so accurate without it anyway. So that frees up a lot of points for us. We have 4 points left here in this theater, so we can use the chest carrier, a frag grenade, a smoke, and a flash, for example. This is a standard loadout for me to run when I run as an assault. But this was for flanker, remember, but I'm going the M16 now anyway, which is available for the assault. So standard loadout for me when I run this one. If you really want the foregrip, then you can just AP ammo, foregrip, and you can still afford an explosive, a frag grenade, or a smoke and a flash, for example. That's the main advantage, I would say, over, for example, we'll jump down to the other assault rifle, which is the M4 here. It is a bit lighter in this theater, as you can see on the weight bar down there. It is lighter than the M16. But it costs 1 point more, which can make a big difference, because if you use the foregrip you can't get an explosive, and with this gun you'll want to use the foregrip because it isn't very accurate without it, if you ask me. This is an automatic rifle gun. If you're gonna use it on single fire, why would you do that? Just use the M16. It's a better single fire weapon in all regards. So you want to use it on automatic, and without the foregrip it's not very accurate anymore, if you ask me. So yeah, foregrip, and then maybe, I guess, a flash or something. But I prefer the M16, and if you can play without automatic fire, which you will learn very quick even if you're not used to it, then yeah, use the M16. M4 is a good gun though, don't get me wrong. You can definitely be a good player with the M4. I just prefer the M16 myself, and I know a lot of other of the top competitive players likes the M16 as well because of its higher penetration power, its cheaper cost, and more accurate on the single fire. The two flanker weapons, the ones you actually want to use with the flanker class, most 99% of the time. The UMP is more for long distance, and the MP5 is if you're going to go more close quarters, I would say, generally. The UMP has better iron sights, a slower fire rate, which also makes it more easier to control the recoil of it. You want to add AP ammo, a suppressor, and a flash, for example. You don't want any chest carrier or anything like that, because then you're gonna make yourself heavier with all these smokes and stuff. Like that little extra will make you heavier, and the advantage of being light will be less. So you want to run these two flank weapons without any kind of explosives most of the time. A flash doesn't weigh you down much, so you could use that one. But yeah, UMP for long distance shooting. The MP5 more closer. AP ammo, suppressor, because you can't use those points for grenades and stuff anyway, because you don't want that. It's gonna slow you down a lot anyway. So yeah, more close range, worse iron sights, but a super high fire rate, and I don't know, I just like it in my hands, okay? It's just like, it just feels right. It feels like I can kill so many people with this gun. Both of them are very good. Use whichever one you want. I see good players use both of them, so yeah. One thing with the flank weapons, this is a thing that actually not that many players do in competitive, but what I like to do, and I think you could pick up on. Everybody hears the rule, always use AP ammo on every single gun. I don't use that rule, because on certain maps, there aren't anything that a flanker weapon can penetrate. Take Minister, for example. There's only thick walls and plant pots and pillars and the flanker weapon can't penetrate that, even if it has AP ammo. So why would you use AP ammo? Because you know the enemy is not going to use armor, because nobody runs armor in the competitive, because it's useless basically against everyone who has AP ammo. So I guess if everyone watches this video, people are gonna maybe start running without AP ammo a lot of times, and then people will start using armor. But as it is now, if you leave AP ammo, you can play a suppressor and maybe a grenade, even if it weighs you down a bit, and you have the best of both worlds, a suppressor and a frag, and you still will deal good enough damage to kill them very, very fast, and you don't have to penetrate anything. On Ministry and Heights are the two best examples, I would say. Heights doesn't really have anything you want to penetrate anyway with a flank weapon. So that's something to think about, even for you veterans that play flankers. You don't need AP ammo. And you don't want HP or tracers, you just leave it at that and use the ball armor, basically the standard. Let's get on to the Assault. So the Assault has the M16, as we talked about before. Most Assault players that I see use that one. The AC is a very underrated gun. It has as high penetration power as the M16. It deals tons of damage. But it has one big negative point, and that's its ammo capacity, which I think is around 20 or something, and the M16 and these other guns has 30, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it's something around those lines. The AC definitely has a lower mag count, at least. But that's really the only thing that's bad with it. It has really good iron sights, it has a good recoil, it has a low recoil, even without the foregrip actually, compared to the M4. So you can use AP ammo and no foregrip and still be pretty accurate with a grenade, for example. So if you love automatic fire, I actually prefer this one over the M4. It is heavier though, so if you're going for that little extra lightness, then the M4 is good, I guess. But the M4 will still be at a disadvantage against the flanker weapons, even if it is as light, because the flankers can pull up their gun much faster. And if both of them has the same reaction time, the flanker will win 90% of the time. So yeah, that's the AC for you. Very good gun, I would say. Underrated if you can keep your ammo in check, basically. The L1A1 SLR is a very situational gun. It has huge penetration power, but the M16's penetration power is usually good enough. Use only this one if you're going for some kind of crazy pre-fire through a thick wall, basically, that you found, and you just want as much damage to come through on the other side of the wall as possible. Otherwise, sure, if it's personal preference, maybe use it, but if you want to be as good as possible, the M16 will do everything the L1 does, but better, basically. The M4A1, we already talked about that one. As I said, I rather use the AC if I want automatic fire, but it is a fine gun, you can use it. The MK18, I never really play with it, but I think it kind of has the same stats as the M4. It's just as light, it has automatic fire, does as much damage, I think, or around the same area, and it has a pretty decent fire rate. So these two guns are pretty similar, use which one you want, and yeah, I think that's all on the Assault player. Last in this part 1, I'm going to talk about the Sharpshooter a little bit. He has the EBR and the M40A1, which the other classes don't. It's usually going to go between the M16 and the M4T for this class, because, as I already said before, the M16 is a very solid gun that will do everything that the L1 can do, and it will also do everything that the M14 can do, because the L1 and M14 kind of fit the same role. Super powerful guns, but they're too powerful. They're more powerful than necessary, basically. So the M16, or obviously then the sniper. The sniper is very good for long range picks, getting that early pick in a round, for example. So obviously you want a scope, because if you're gonna shoot something short distance, you can just have used the M16 instead. So you need the 8.7 times magnification scope, and you want AP ammo on it as well, because then you can shoot through some wood, because this gun has ridiculous penetration power. You can shoot through thick walls, you can kill people through all kind of objects, basically. So AP ammo, I would say, is definitely necessary. I see some snipers play without it, but when you start out, definitely use the AP ammo and the 8.7 times scope. A secondary, Makarov, as I said before, is by far the best pistol, AP ammo and a suppressor, because why not? You don't have anything else to spend it on. You can use a smoke and a flash as well, because you're already so heavy, so it doesn't really matter if you have that extra. Well, it doesn't even weight anything, I see now, so yep. that's the Sharpshooter for you, and that's all the classes on security side. I'll see you in the next one where I will go over Insurgence weapons.